The gladiatorial games did not begin in Rome. Their roots stretch back to the Etruscans, a people who believed blood honored the dead. At funerals, warriors fought to the death beside the tomb, their sacrifice a gift to the spirit of the departed. Rome, ever hungry for spectacle, took this ritual and transformed it into something far greater. By 264 BCE, the first recorded gladiatorial contest was held in Rome. What began as a solemn rite soon became entertainment. The games grew larger, bloodier, more elaborate. By the time of Julius Caesar, they were no longer about honoring the dead. They were about power. To host games was to command the loyalty of the people. Bread and circuses, as the poet Juvenal would later write, kept the masses content. The games became political theater. Senators and emperors competed to outdo one another, staging ever more extravagant spectacles. Exotic animals were imported from across the empire: lions from Africa, tigers from Asia, crocodiles from the Nile. The arena became a stage where Rome displayed its dominion over nature, over man, over the world itself. But beneath the grandeur lay a darker truth. The gladiators themselves were slaves, prisoners of war, or criminals condemned to fight. They were the fuel that kept the spectacle alive. Their blood was the price of Rome's entertainment. And yet, paradoxically, they became symbols of Roman virtue, courage, endurance, and the willingness to face death with dignity. The origins of the games remind us of Rome's contradictions. They were born from ritual, transformed into entertainment, and weaponized as politics. They were brutal, yet celebrated. They were cruel, yet captivating. And at their heart stood the gladiator, a man caught between death and glory.
The Colosseum rises with the sun, its arches glowing like the teeth of some ancient beast. For centuries, this arena was the beating heart of Rome, a place where life and death were decided not by gods, but by the roar of the crowd. Here, men became legends or corpses. To the Romans, the gladiator was more than a fighter. He was a symbol of courage, endurance, and the thrill of blood. But behind the spectacle lay a life of discipline, pain, and fleeting glory. Imagine the sound, 50,000 voices echoing off stone, chanting, jeering, demanding blood. The emperor sits in his box, the crowd's eyes fixed on him as much as on the men below. A thumb raised or lowered could decide a man's fate. Yet the gladiator's story does not begin in the arena. It begins in the shadows, among slaves, prisoners, and desperate men who found themselves bound to a life of combat. To walk a day in the sandals of a gladiator is to step into a world of contradictions. They were slaves, yet adored like heroes. They were despised as criminals, yet worshipped as celebrities. Their lives were brutal, short, and merciless, but their names could echo through centuries. This is not just a story of combat. It is a story of survival, of spectacle, of Rome itself. Today, we will follow a gladiator through his world, from the training grounds of the ludus to the thunder of the arena, from the meals that fueled him to the wounds that scarred him. We will see how he lived, how he fought, and how he died. And in doing so, we will glimpse the soul of an empire that built its glory on blood and sand.
The day of a gladiator began long before the roar of the crowd. At dawn, the clang of iron echoed through the ludus, the gladiator school. Here, men lived under strict discipline, their lives ruled by the lanista, the trainer who owned them. The ludus was both prison and forge, shaping men into weapons. Gladiators rose from straw mattresses, their bodies aching from yesterday's drills. They ate a simple breakfast, barley porridge, beans, bread, and then marched into the training yard. Wooden swords, heavier than real ones, were thrust into their hands. The idea was simple: train with weight so that in the arena, the real weapon felt light as air. The lanista and his assistants barked commands. Footwork was drilled endlessly: forward, back, sidestep, shield up. A gladiator's survival depended not on brute strength, but on precision, timing, and endurance. Every mistake in training could mean death in the arena. The men sparred against each other, sweat dripping, muscles straining, the sun beating down on sand that mirrored the arena floor. The ludus was a place of hierarchy. Veterans, called doctores, taught the recruits. They demonstrated techniques, corrected stances, and reminded the novices that the arena was not a brawl, it was theater. Every fight was a performance designed to thrill the crowd. A gladiator who fought with skill and style could win fame, even if he lost the match. But the ludus was also a cage. Gladiators were slaves, bound by contract or punishment. Some had been captured in war, others condemned as criminals. A few were volunteers, men who sought glory or money, willing to risk their lives for a chance at fame. Whatever their origin, once inside the ludus, they were all the same, property of Rome, trained to kill or be killed.
To survive the arena, a gladiator needed more than skill. He needed strength, endurance, and resilience. The body was his weapon, and it was carefully maintained. Forget the image of steak-fed warriors. Gladiators were known as hortieri, barley men. Their diet was heavy in grains, beans, and porridge. It was not glamorous, but it built bulk and stamina. They drank a strange tonic of vinegar and ash, believed to strengthen bones. Modern science suggests it may have provided calcium, helping them recover from fractures. Their meals were designed not for taste, but for survival. A lean, wiry body was less useful than one padded with muscle and fat, because fat could protect against shallow cuts, keeping a gladiator alive longer in the arena. Injury was inevitable. Blades cut, bones broke, muscles tore. Yet gladiators received surprisingly advanced medical care. Physicians, often attached to the ludus, stitched wounds, set bones, and treated infections. A gladiator was an investment, and the lanista wanted his fighters healthy enough to return to the arena. Some gladiators bore scars like maps across their bodies, each mark a reminder of survival. The gladiator's body was both tool and canvas. It carried the marks of training, the scars of combat, and the weight of expectation. To the crowd, it was a spectacle of strength. To the gladiator, it was the only shield against death.
Not all gladiators were the same. Each belonged to a class designed for contrast and spectacle. The murmillo was the tank of the arena, heavily armored, carrying a large rectangular shield and a short sword called a gladius. His helmet bore a crest shaped like a fish, a symbol of his strength. Facing him might be the nimble retiarius, armed only with a net and trident. Lightly armored, his speed was his weapon. He danced around the murmillo, trying to entangle him in the net, then strike with the trident. It was a duel of opposites, brute force against agility, shield against net, sword against spear. Another type was the Thracian, with a curved sword called a sika and a small round shield. His style was quick and aggressive, darting in and out of range. The secutor, designed to fight the retiarius, wore a smooth helmet with tiny eye holes, preventing the net from catching. Each pairing was carefully chosen to create drama, to keep the crowd on edge. The arena was not chaos,
it was choreography. Every fight was a balance of strengths and weaknesses designed to entertain. The crowd loved variety, and the organizers delivered. To see a Murmillo clash with a Retiarius was to watch a living chess match, each move countered, each strike anticipated. These types of gladiators became icons. Their armor, their weapons, their fighting styles were instantly recognizable. Children played games imitating them, poets wrote verses about them, and the crowd shouted their names. They were not just fighters, they were characters in Rome's greatest theater of blood.
The day of the games began long before the first sword was drawn. At dawn, the streets of Rome buzzed with anticipation. Tens of thousands of citizens poured into the Colosseum, clutching pottery shards that served as tickets. Vendors shouted, selling bread, wine, and roasted nuts. Children tugged at their parents' hands, eager to see the spectacle. For the people of Rome, the games were more than entertainment. They were a holiday, a festival, a chance to witness the empire's power on display. Inside the Colosseum, the atmosphere was electric. The emperor's arrival was greeted with thunderous applause. His presence was not just ceremonial, it was political. To host games was to win the loyalty of the people. Bread and circuses kept the masses content, distracted from hardship, united in spectacle. The Colosseum was Rome's theater, and the gladiators its actors. As the sun climbed higher, the crowd settled into their seats. Senators and nobles occupied the best views, shaded by awnings. The poor filled the upper tiers, their voices carrying down in a roar. The arena floor, covered in fresh sand, gleamed in the morning light. Beneath it, in dark tunnels, gladiators waited. Their day had begun.
The morning belonged to the beasts. Exotic animals captured from the farthest reaches of the empire were paraded into the arena. Lions from Africa, tigers from Asia, bears from the forests of Europe. Hunters armed with spears and bows faced them in deadly contests called venationes. The crowd roared as man and beast clashed, as blood stained the sand. It was a display of Rome's dominion over nature, proof that no creature, no matter how fierce, could resist the empire's might. But the spectacle was not only about killing. Sometimes animals were trained to perform tricks, to amuse the crowd. Other times they were pitted against each other in savage battles. The morning was a warm-up, a prelude to the true drama of the afternoon. Yet even here, lives were lost, and the sand drank deeply of blood. For the gladiators waiting below, the sounds of the morning were a reminder of what awaited them. The roar of the crowd, the cries of the dying, the smell of blood. It was the overture to their own performance.
As the sun reached its zenith, the Colosseum shifted from spectacle to judgment. Midday was reserved for executions, a grim interlude between the morning hunts and the afternoon's gladiatorial contests. The condemned were led into the arena, criminals, rebels, prisoners of war. Some shuffled in chains, others were dragged, their faces pale with terror. The crowd, restless after the animal hunts, leaned forward in anticipation. Justice, Roman style, was about to be served. Executions were not simple affairs. They were theater, designed to shock and to warn. Some condemned men were tied to stakes, awaiting the release of wild beasts. Lions and leopards, already bloodied from the morning, were unleashed to tear them apart. The crowd roared, some in delight, others in horror. Parents covered their children's eyes, but many children peeked through fingers, learning early the price of defiance. Others were forced to reenact scenes from mythology.
A man cast as Orpheus was mauled by beasts as he played a lyre. Another, chained like Prometheus, was attacked by birds. These were not plays, they were executions disguised as drama. The condemned became unwilling actors in Rome's cruel theater. The purpose was clear: to remind the people of Rome's power. To rebel, to steal, to defy the empire was to die, not in silence, but in spectacle. The executions were warnings written in blood and sand, and yet they also served another purpose: to whet the appetite of the crowd. For after the condemned had fallen silent, the people would demand the true stars of the day, the gladiators.
At last, the moment the crowd had waited for arrived. The gates creaked open, and gladiators marched into the arena. Their armor gleamed in the sunlight, their weapons sharp and ready. They saluted the emperor with the famous words, "Ave Caesar, morituri te salutant." Hail Caesar, we who are about to die salute you. The crowd erupted, the sound echoing like thunder through the stone arches. The matches were carefully arranged. A murmillo, heavy with armor and shield, faced the retiarius, armed only with a net and trident. The contrast thrilled the crowd. Brute force against speed, shield against net, sword against spear. Each clash of steel drew cheers, each dodge a gasp. The sand turned red, but the fight was not chaos. It was choreography. Gladiators were trained to fight with skill, with style, to make every movement a performance. The crowd demanded drama. A well-matched fight could last minutes, sometimes longer, as each man tested the other, feinted, struck, retreated. When one fell, the arena held its breath. The defeated gladiator raised a finger, asking for mercy. All eyes turned to the emperor. A thumb raised meant life, a chance to fight again. A thumb lowered meant death. The decision was swift, final, and absolute. For the gladiators, every fight was survival. For the crowd, it was entertainment. For the emperor, it was power. The arena was Rome in miniature, brutal, theatrical, and absolute.
Not all gladiators were forgotten in the sand. Some rose to fame, their names etched in mosaics, their likenesses painted on walls. They became celebrities, adored by the crowd, admired by women, envied by men. Poets wrote verses about their courage. Children played games imitating their battles. They were slaves, yet they were heroes. They were despised, yet they were worshipped. Fame brought rewards. Successful gladiators received gifts, better food, sometimes even freedom. A victorious fighter could earn the wooden sword, the rudis, symbolizing release from the arena. Yet fame was fleeting. Most gladiators died young, their glory measured in battles survived. For every celebrated champion, there were dozens who perished nameless, buried in unmarked graves. The paradox of the gladiator's life was stark. He was both victim and star, both slave and hero. His death was entertainment, his survival a triumph. And yet, in the roar of the crowd, he found a kind of immortality. The gladiator's fame was not measured in years, but in moments. Moments of courage, of spectacle, of blood. By the 5th century, the games faded. Christianity condemned them, emperors outlawed them, and the Colosseum fell silent. The great arena, once filled with the roar of 50,000 voices, became a ruin, its stones scavenged, its arches crumbling. Yet the gladiator endures. In our stories, our films, even our sports, we see echoes of the arena. Athletes are called warriors, stadiums are modern colosseums, and the roar of the crowd still decides the fate of men.
The gladiator reminds us of Rome's greatness and its cruelty. He was a man caught between death and glory, between slavery and fame. To walk a day in his life is to glimpse the heart of an empire, beating with blood, spectacle, and the eternal roar of the crowd. Perhaps that is why the gladiator still captivates us. He embodies the contradictions of humanity, our thirst for violence, our admiration for courage, our fascination with death. His story is not just Rome's story, it is ours. For as long as we gather in arenas, as long as we cheer for combat, as long as we tell stories of heroes and battles, the gladiator will never truly die. Thank you for joining us on this adventure. If you enjoyed this exploration of the entire history of a day in the life of a gladiator, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey is just beginning, and we can't wait to see where it takes you next.